ugh, Thursday. Maybe you guys are having a better morning than I am, but it's pretty bleh. Okay, let me put my tweet out real quick. Started. I know it's a few minutes earlier than usual, but I'll probably ramble on about some other things as well, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. Just to remind you guys, this is the second part, or part 2, of the Beauty of Nature community plot on Jabbit EU. Yesterday we visited the bottom 3 plots of this particular community, primarily focused on like a beach, jungle, sandy, kind of village type feel. A lot of interesting structures. Some of the, in the particular, I think it was in the last one we looked at, there was a lot of treetop kind of buildings. This one here, the first one was more kind of like native huts and stuff. So the second part that we're going to be doing today is going to be focused on the top 2 community plots, and those have a more winter feel to them. As I pointed out a few times yesterday, as we were making our way through the bottom 3, you can see that there's kind of an ice wall that divides the 2 sections pretty clearly. Now, as we go along this main path here that pretty much just runs right straight through the center of the 2 groups, I'm going to point out at least the one extra entrance slash exit to that area that I am aware of. There may be others, but I just happened upon this one while I was checking things out prior to yesterday's stream. But I believe it's right around in here somewhere that there's an entrance, or maybe just behind the little munchkin, or maybe it's further down. Let me take a closer look. I know there's like one that was like kind of hidden. Yeah, here's one of the doors here, and that'll get you into this one. But we're gonna go from this way forward. So, but you can see it as you transition off into those particular plots. The weather is distinctly different. You get snowy effect. There's the parrot wedding scene from before. And here's another little duo just standing there. I don't know if that's to indicate that there's another exit somewhere around here, a little cave kind of thing, or not. But again, I don't want to enter that area just yet. Now, I feel fairly confident that we saw most everything, if not everything, from the other plots yesterday, but I noticed one thing at least that we missed. And that's this little graveyard thingy to the right here. You can see they're using the Draken fencing for the pathing. Now, if you turn the fencing upside down, it has more of a, it doesn't have the stone pattern, but it looks striations, I think is the word, where it looks like streaks of different colors. But you can get a longer kind of path, almost similar to that of using like the hoverboard, hoverboard decor to make a long curving path. You just don't get the stone look to it. But doing it like this works just as well too. It's maybe not as flat, and of course you have the seams because parts of the wall are a little darker than the other parts, so there's clear definition between the pieces that you would use. God, I can't talk this morning. But I think it just depends on what you're going for. Good morning, TW, and anyone else that happens to be dropping by. I know Thursdays is not my usual day, but I reserve that day and Friday for any kind of leftovers that we don't get through on our Wednesday tours. So I'm happy to have you guys here. So here we have some like fresh dirt piles. Now, probably the fake dirt or whatever, or faux dirt, is the sandbags. I think most people associate that with dirt piles because it's kind of brown, it's got a little bit of a texture to it, kind of lumpy, you know, not like perfectly shaped like a dome or anything like that. Um, so I see a lot of people use that. Others have used like the little dirt pile that's in the portable planter. Um, I think there's a few lampposts and stuff. Has a little bit of dirt, but also some stones and stuff that people get away with. And there's probably some other items. I think some of them use the green bowl and everything. But this, um, I'm not really sure what's being used here. It has a weird little design on it. And of course, it's a different color. I don't know if it's one of uh, uh, what's it called? The little pots, like the Draken pot. There's a word I'm missing, but I can't think of it. Um, and they've just recolored it to be a little darker, uh, to make it more like a wet soil kind of thing. But yeah, I think it's one of these pots, but like the other one that has like the weird design, the one that I used for feathers for the turkey portrait last year. So yeah, I didn't want to miss another little detail that they actually took the time to build into this. I'm going to go ahead and go all the way down to the end just in case. I'm pretty sure the end is at that honey pot factory thingy that we saw at the end of yesterday's show. But I'm going to go ahead and go all the way back down. Just there's nothing that I might have missed in my rush to get to the next area. Yeah, so most of the wall itself, I think, is the glacier pieces. There's a lot of different, there's like glacial spikes, and then there's a one that kind of looks like I call it a fin or a fan shape. A lot of people like to use that for like frozen statues for fins like fish or for like combs for like dragons or whatever. And then to kind of finish it off, to kind of blend it into the ground, they're using the snowy hills. There's some frozen water, uh, especially around where the water feature runs through into the snowy area. They've got that there. But I think this is the main entrance here. And that brings us straight into top right plot, which is Layla Strainborn. It's the only one that doesn't follow the Starborn name. A little bit of trivia there. Because again, I believe this is all Bubbles community. It's just a bunch of their alts. Whoa, I kind of disappeared into the snow there. That was pretty funny. Um, but yeah, you can tell again, the lighting changes when I enter the no man's zone around the edge, which is a little weird because, you know, it's all supposed to be the snowy part, but snow only comes when you get closer to the main part of the plot. But again, you can see how much stuff they've managed to put outside the barrier. I don't know how they're doing that. I recall having difficulty doing it. Could be it's just certain pieces that are allowed. Could be how they've sized them, just the positioning like this. I noticed the trees right on the edge. Maybe the collision for the tree base is like just there, and so they can kind of sneak it past the barrier like they have. Honestly, don't know. Um, again, Arctera is probably the main source of a lot of wintry type items, including the snow-covered bones, the glacier pieces, uh, the Arctera formations definitely come from there. These are some more of those glacier bits as well. And of course, a lot of the snow-covered trees and stuff. Some of it comes from the housing vendor, but a lot of it comes from the vendors, like you're going for like a lot of Osun kind of bits, like the materials, the metal, where it's kind of looks like it's a little frosted. A lot of that comes from the vendors there in Arctera. Okay, so again, a lot of Arctera formations, I'm sure they got specific names, arches or spikes or whatever. I don't know the name. I'll just give them the general. It's kind of like the hover part pieces. There's too many to remember for me. This is where you would zone in if you come into this particular plot as an individual visit, as opposed to the community spot where you would zone in. These are some lovely pieces. They have that little bit of transparency. We've seen people play around with the color shifting on this. Like one of the previous communities we went to, they colored them a black color and they looked like obsidian stone. They still had that little hint of glowiness to them. It made them really sinister, but it was like a pitch black. It was like super solid black. It was just gave it a completely different look. The only reason you can recognize is because of the shape of the item, as it was clearly one of these formations. I'm going to get too far past. I'm ready to land on the barrier here, but you can see how they just kind of extended out. How they're doing that so cleverly, I have absolutely no clue. I know that Katia, I think it was, discovered using oversized items down in bunker house would kind of create the illusion of distanced mountains and trees and stuff, but I don't know if that's the type of technique being used here or not. I have absolutely no idea. Okay, we're going to backtrack through the tunnel here and do some more exploring of that first winter plot. If you're wondering about the plants here, a lot of these, it's the exonite flowers and shrooms and stuff. They go really good with winter feel because they're kind of white and snowy looking themselves. They blend really well, even though they might not necessarily be associated with that particular area. Now, you can see pretty definitively that this plot does have an interior. It's, as far as I can tell, the Osun prefab home. Excuse me. And I'm pretty certain about that because of the chains coming out, because usually it's like a big metal tower kind of thing and the chains are like holding it. And they've just what I call pimped it out a little bit to change the look of it, so you don't see the main part of the house as it is. We have a lot of builders do that. You know, there's a school of builders that prefer to custom build entirely for their house. Others will take a prefab home and just cover up the outside to make it look different. We've seen it both ways, and both ways have their pluses and minuses as far as what goes into doing each if you're doing a complete custom build, and if they were doing it in the snow like this, the snow would actually be coming in the house, as opposed to being able to take advantage of an interior, instanced interior, to not have the snow bother you as you mess around on the inside. Um, if you're doing a full custom building as well, that counts completely towards your exterior decor count, as opposed to being able to do a complete exterior with all that limit and then having also an interior limit. So there's pros and cons, but both, if done well, can really amaze visitors because of the detail that they can put in. Again, it's just a matter of your preference. Okay, we're coming to the edge of this one again. Kind of follow along here. I like going to some of the higher up places because often you'll get some good views of an overall shot. But like here, don't want to miss how they've got these little skiers. Basically 2x4s or metal planks is one or the other for the skis themselves, and then for the poles, it's just sparking wires. Little lops, same thing. This one actually like is using something different, some kind of maybe a Ichthian piece. Their skis. There's a good view of the wall, splits two halves of the community. Now the sparkles and stuff, I think those are coming from some of the fireworks decor. I don't know which one specifically because I don't really use those particular decor much. Um, but it has a pretty fun effect. Okay, so let's take a look inside. Sort here. Like how they modified the door to make it look like an ice door. It's all these different pieces of glacier bits and ice, kind of really freak you out. For the door handles and stuff. Hey Poi, good morning. And like here, you've got some bones frozen in some of the cubes. Super shiny. And here's a flower that they've made out of some of the glacier pieces, with some of the icicles sticking out. Very pretty. Kind of like a throny flower, or flower throne, or however you want to say it. I know there's been several players that have done like ice sculptures and stuff, and it's a good example of something that you can put together. Good for a painting as well, if you want to do it that way. The design, making it look nice. The ceiling too, all the icicles hanging from the top. And the little rose inside the glass case. Now I think this is a glass, one of the glasses, bottom of it. Notice the claws. And those are some of the bones that you can get from Arctera. These here, I think, are the tiny blue crystals, just because of the sharpness of the edges. Most of the glaciers are a little bit more rough looking, but that's a guess on my part. Okay, I think, again, the flower bits, they've used the glacier parts and then added in that fire. It's probably one of the braziers. It's Frostforged Watchfire. And I think it's an Arctera item that you can either purchase from one of the vendors or it becomes a random drop. And I guess that wasn't what I thought it was. I thought it was a Osun place, but I guess not. It appeared more like a Brannock house than anything. The chains fooled me. Either that or I missed spot in there that would lead to more areas. Let me just double check again to make. Yeah, this doesn't look like a Osun. Looks more like a. Yeah, because I think this is the two rooms for the spacious. Still pretty nifty though. Okay, so back out. I think we can go on to the next spot. Here we have, this is supposed to be like an ocean or lake or something that has been entirely frozen over. So there's some uh, crashed up boats out here. Basically just two of the oaring gondolas to make it look like a single one has been broken in half and just kind of discarded or left to ruin. I like the touches of the snow sickles and stuff on there. It's like an overgrowth, but it's wintry themed. I want to miss this, whatever this is. How about a stick? Notice how they give a little bit of like melted water, as if the lake or whatever is still running underneath the frozen part. Yes, this is one of those rainy, maybe a terminite kind of gross thingy. It looks like they're using either icicles or some of those frozen shroom plants to make like a little nest for this egg. Kind of disturbing looking. Here we have another kind of crashed slash abandoned ship. This one's a little bit more custom. It's 2x4s mostly. I think the deck here is pillars. And then they've added like the bust here on the front. What is that? Is that called the stern? I'm not sure. Yeah, you can see the detail. I mean, there's some gaps and stuff, but you kind of forgive them for that because it's supposed to be kind of crashed and ruined anyway. But this is where you would zone in on this particular plot. So I find this pretty amazing that they were able to get the pillars to land so smoothly here. It might just be the angle that they have them at, and it allows them to put it so close to the teleport pad. I have absolutely no idea, but it's really nicely done. What a way to get into this particular plot right on the bow of the ship here. So then you have little leftover pieces, planks and the wheel and the netting and stuff, and even part of the mast. Basically, I think it's just some Skeech banners, and I think it's one of the training poles, uh, Draken training pole or totem or something. And I think we have this one. He's doing some ice fishing. You have to get really close to see it. Notice how if you're kind of far off, if you do like me and run around with your camera like zoomed the furthest out, you'll miss little details like this. So it's important to kind of zoom in now and then. As you can see, he's got a little, I think it's sunfish plushie attached to some chain, and I'm not sure what's being used as the stick itself. Looks shorter than a sparking wire. Works really well though. So doing some ice fishing. If you're looking for something to use like as bait for your bucket, the intestines in the net or whatever, that works good. Kind of looks like worms. Um, Trying to think what else might be good for fish. If you can't get a hold of the little sunfish, there's some that have actually just, I think we visited a few places that had some fish that they created out of various items, but you would have to put those on a surface kind of thing. But you can use other more accessible plushies. The Shelark is one. Um, you even do like some of the gators, the gar or whatever. Doesn't necessarily have to be a little fish. And I know you guys are probably going, what about that big fire breathing thing over there? We'll get to that in a little bit. I'm going to take a closer look at this area here. Now these are some waterfall areas. Now this is just windy rivers and the older waterfalls. You can see that they're still pretty effective, even if it doesn't have all that extra animation that the newer waterfalls have. So I just want to point that out for those that go, well, I can't afford to spend my bits or monies on those from the cash shop. Nice to know that you don't have. So here's a little tower structure. It's a lot of, I think it's staircases, even this part here, I think. And some of it's just size different. And 2x4s, metal edge 2x4s. Up, 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 up. Get dizzy doing this. Mouse. Oof. Made it to the top. And here's another one of those little airships you saw in some of the previous staircase landings, part of this. But I like the detail of just all of the bracketry ports for this structure, but it's a really good shot of the dragon that is visiting this particular plot. This is probably the one that gives you the best upper view. when I was here earlier, I couldn't find a good place to get close enough to like hop onto it, but I'll see if I can find something. But I think a lot of it is from like the Space Chase loot boxes. It's like it's spaceship parts, like some of the, I don't know, phalanges or wings or something. The smoke, of course, is the blue flare. But some of the other parts, it looks like some of the exile lights, like a lot of people like to use them for like runways for aircraft and stuff. Probably some engine parts as well. It's really hard to make out, to be honest, but it's like a nice big dark metal dragon. Let's make the trek back down. If I pause every now and then, it's to help keep me from getting dizzy, sick, kind of nauseating to watch. Okay. So if we make our way over to this dragon, if I can go up a little bit, you can see where the smoke is blasting away. There's also other kinds of smoke, and I assume those are from the smoke to core pack. It's to give the illusion that he's already scorched this area, because as you'll see, a lot of the trees are some from like the Shades Eve themed. They're barren, withered, whatever you want to call it, without very much leafy green on here. Even the evergreens are kind of wimpy looking. And I think that's a great way of showing that, there's been some damage done from his fire breath. And different types of smokes. You see the streamy smoke here, and this is more like puffy smoke. It's a good effect, but again, it's something you have to get from the cash shop. Okay, let me go back up a little bit. Better look at Mr. Dragon here. You can see some kind of spaceship part, wings or something. And then it looks like some of those columns, I can't remember what they're called. It's blue columns that has like a lot of blue weird symbols and stuff on them. And it looks like some engine parts, maybe some windows and stuff. Really hard to tell, especially at a distance. Let's get closer back. Like this looks like either cannon or engine bits. It could even be part silver keg that's just been recolored a little bit. That's another issue, trying to identify pieces when it's kind of really hard to tell. Like I'm not even sure what the tail is made out of. It could be stones. Claws again look like some kind of engine part. I honestly cannot specify beyond that. But it's a nice idea. I mean, we've seen a few others do some dragon bits. A lot of them prefer to use the um, the draken domes and such, because it looks like scales. We saw that from like the dinosaurs from a previous build that we visited. There's a lot of detail. It's just I couldn't honestly say what all these pieces are. Like I'm pretty sure that's like a spaceship part because it's got looks like it's got glass, but I have no idea. This looks like a window, and they're using that as the eyeball. And then over here we have a little cabin. I love the build of this, just the shape and structure of it. It's mostly 2x4s. There's a little bit of staircase landing, like mostly for the roof and porch. I think actually the whole base I think is just a giant staircase landing, and then they add the stairs and then the little porch bits here. Again, are just metal edge 2x4s. But you can see how they've had to patch the wood together to work in making gaps for the windows here. And again, if you're having some kind of a rain, snow, uh, fuzzy dust particles, any kind of atmospheric bits that are floating around in the sky remodel that you choose. If you do a custom build like this with housing or any kind of other structure, a barn, whatever it might be aware that the snow and the rain and everything will be coming into it. There's no way to uh, block or add collision to specific items to tell the game that there should be no snow in here. So it looks a little weird, and it might be why they've included little gaps to kind of account for possibility that snow would be coming into the house itself. Um, but it's just one of those things you have to deal with as a builder. Um, Mouse acts like it died. It's just one of those things. That's why I think the majority of those that do a custom house opt for non uh, precipitative uh, sky remodels to avoid that issue altogether. But it's a nice little winter cabin. Nothing outlandish. There's some that have multiple levels and multiple rooms, but that works really good for a little hunter's lodge or something. Over here we have a little cave for some loppies. It's reminiscent of the Far Trader lop fabricate. I don't think that's what this is. It's just reminiscent of that because it's got the little ice cave, got the lop in it, and a lot of the features inside it kind of look like some of the things that they have on that particular fab kit. And I think that covers most, if not everything here. See if I can get up top. Get on the house. Not sure why. My aim is awful. Notice how those icicles here have no collision whatsoever. They're great for if you have a icy wintry cave and you want to do like a secret passage. They're great for that. Yeah, I don't think there's any way for me to get up close and personal with this dragon so that you can see better. I can't quite tell what those are. It looks like it may be the vents or the the windows or something from the spaceship stuff, but I don't know. You know, if you did a lot of the Space Chase event and got a lot of those pieces, what a way to put them to good use outside of just building yourself a spaceship. I think what a lot of people have focused on. It's always nice to do something a little different, a little unexpected with those. Like all the extra bones, we've seen a lot of people do some fun things with those as well. Oh, let me ride up side of it. Thought maybe I could get up on the little peak there, but apparently not. Oop, razor sharp edge there. Almost. It's not gonna let me do it. Oh, I made it. Yeah, don't look at that. That's like not what the builder wanted you to stare. Here's a little closer. Now, I wonder, should I dare try and jump on the thing? I don't know if that's possible. My aim is really awful, folks. I'm probably going to be just slipping right off, but we'll try it. Can't believe I made the jump. There you go. So we're on Mr. Dragon here. So you can see just how many pieces they've had to use to make the wings. Just multiples. I still can't identify the parts even with it so close, but there you go. I don't want to get too far off because then I might not be able to get back. But you see, these are some of those lights that I was talking about that a lot of people use for the runways and for the ships to come in and land and stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty confident this is like one of those engines, like a nacelle or whatever they call it. And then this is part of those columns, ones that are blinking pink. Yeah, this looks like, I don't know, a lot of different little doodads, the piping and everything. Hard to get that. What a great place for some screenshots of the rest of the plot, though, on the wings of the dragon here. See the frozen lake or river or whatever that's supposed to be. So yeah, incredibly creative. Definitely, it's connected, the different plots, even the winter from the summer part. But I think there's enough variety that there's a little bit of something for everyone as far as finding things. You know, maybe you're not into the beach and jungle stuff, but this wintry part might catch your attention. This right here with the bones, it looks like part of those alcoves, the things that I call like urinals or something. That blue flare is super bright. It's one of the things people didn't like about using that particular item because the light of it is so, even if you wanted to hide that part and just have the smoke showing, that light always found a way to get through a little on the annoying side. Yeah, I think these are some of the spaceship windows or hatches or something. Okay, I'll look for a safe spot to get off of this thing without falling to my death. Yeah, and I think these are the spaceship vents. I can kind of see the stripe look of it. It's a lot of vents to make this tail. Okay, where's a good place to drop down? I guess I'll just go for it. Oof, it wasn't too bad. Okay, we survived. So yeah, just some fun stuff. I really like this burnt out part here. We've seen some things like that. I remember there was one build way, way, way back when. It might have even been in beta. Someone had a UFO that had crashed into a forest, and they had this just full on thick with tree spores, and then the center was just like kind of blown out and had smoke and stuff, and had the spaceship up above, and it looked pretty convincing. It was a fun thing. I don't remember who did it. It comes to mind when I look at the burnt out trees and stuff. So okay, I think we covered everything. Double checking some of the edge areas that I might have missed some little details here and there. Hope not. Saw the skiers. I don't think there's any here. No, I think we covered it all. And probably in record time because I think we've only been on for about half an hour. So I probably technically could have finished this yesterday, but I was worried that because I hadn't seen everything, so I wasn't completely positive that there wouldn't be extra stuff that we would discover, and then I would end up talking too long and it would go longer than I intended. But you know, that's how it goes. So let me just run through. I'm gonna go zipping around all the outer edges here just to make sure we didn't miss anything in the communal areas, the no man's land. I'm going to be zipping through pretty quickly, just him along here. Oh, that was the medical witch doctor thingy, and that was the portal that goes into the space. It goes into the something else. There, good. I think the space thing goes all the way through there, along the edge here. Oh, here's a little stem dragon nest. It looks like some overgrowth that they've recolored to a brown. He's even got his little treasure pile back here. And then thorny logs build the little cave that he's sitting in. I don't think we saw him yesterday. It's just little things like that you can easily overlook if you're zipping through here like I often do. Found a dead end. Let me go around the other way. Oh, I see something else. A little boat with some little lovebird carrots. Mr. Swamp Monster behind the waterfall. Oh, my camera's just wigging out. I can get up top there or not. Probably can, but not the way I'm going, my guess. Back down. There's the upper level. Another swamp monster is. That's not the name, obviously. It's Nerid. Not that that's any better, but that's their technical name. You can see how they've just kind of encased this particular plot with all of the trimmings. Really give it an enclosed look. This here, if you're wondering about that, I think that's part of one of those chlorine face thingies. Oof. Right here? I think so. Pretty sure we did. I think there's a sword down here. Yeah, I'm pretty confident that was the. Yeah, because we talked about the tinkerheads and such being a fave deal. And this is where we got into the swampy part. We talked about the man-eating plant here on the track. Now, this is one of the examples of using those corpses kind of like a live animal. I've used the roans in that way. There are a few like the not a panther, Pumera, that have the least amount of damage to their corpse, and you can kind of get away with them using them as a kind of a faux NPC. But like some of the other ones, they're pretty gruesome, the parts that are missing from them and everything. But like the roan, he's got like their tongue is hanging out and got like a huge chunk missing from their side. But if you're kind of sneaky about it, you can get away with using them even still by covering up part of their body with like sandbags or something to make it look like a pack animal, and just kind of keeping them upright and taking it in. Okay, I think that about covers it. Apologies that it's such a short little visit, but I hope you guys enjoyed the last little bits to this particular community. Again, if you're not really into the winter part, there's a summer section to be enthralled with, and if you're more into the wintry, then you can go to that side of it. Again, it's not really kind of a seasonal divided thing. It's just it happens to be um, both halves. as the hot and the cold. But yeah, it's a lovely plot, a lot of clever ideas, great place for some inspiration on building certain structures, especially the round kind of hut-like things. Um, and even some of the landscaping, how they've done the waterfalls and the mountain works and stuff. So yeah, I hope you guys had fun. Again, we try to do this every Wednesday. Just keep an eye on the Twitter account if you're, and curious if we're going to be having to cancel for any reason. I hope that's not the case. We've done so much canceling in the past. It's not even funny, but real life and real health gets in the way sometimes. But that'll be the first place I mention if there's going to be any kind of cancellation of that week. Um, Other than that, just assume that we will be here next Wednesday for another installment. Again, this was the last kind of winner for the uh, community showdown competition that Carbine hosted last year. That's the last one on Jabbit. I think there's still one or two left to run through on Entity side. Beyond that, I have a few others that I was given a note about that actually participated but weren't mentioned. And I figured, they took the time to participate, so I'm going to go ahead and show them too. I've already done a few of those earlier, but I think there's a handful more to go through. So we've got at least till the end of this month and possibly into the next before we go back to integrating some more individual plot tours into our showtime. So just wanted to mention that again. As always, if you know of any plot or community that we have yet to stream a tour of and you feel like they are worth taking a look at, feel free to message me. You can reach me on Twitch, Twitter, in-game. In-game might be a little slower because I don't log in as often as I used to, but I always check my mail and other contact points, even the forums. You can get a hold of me through there to drop me a note, and it can be your plot, friend's plot, guildmate's plot, frenemies plot, whatever, as long as you feel like it's worth looking at. I do retour some places, but it has to be either they've completely rebuilt it or there's been a significant amount of renovation, even if the main theme is the same as it was before. So keep that in mind. It's not that I don't want to revisit places, but I try to keep things fresh. So it's always going to some place that we haven't been before is preferred. Um, but yeah, I'm happy to take suggestions. It doesn't matter what faction, what region. I go to all the places now. So just keep that in mind if you have come across some places that you think deserve a spotlight on the show. Till then, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, a wonderful week for next week, and good luck with any projects you happen to be working on. I hope this show inspired, and if not, maybe we'll get you next time. Until then, have a great day, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.